Afternoon all. Welcome to another video where I give my perspective on the world around me. I came across a video by Sam of United People's TV, of which I do like. However, his take on the Mason Greenwood situation is, in my opinion, very poor, and due to him switching off the comments on this video suggests that it is at odds with much of his fanbase. This is not an issue. We are all allowed to hold opinions that people would consider poor. An example of this is Sam Harris, who despite being a very smart person, has allowed his hatred of Donald Trump to color his way of seeing the world. He is willing to overlook the alleged criminality of many of Trump's opponents because he views Trump as being the greatest threat to all things. All I can see him as being a threat to is the swamp. In this video, Sam explains that Manchester United's delay has created this environment, which is toxic, which has gone on for way too long, and I don't like the way Manchester United have handled it. This, I would partially agree with. Manchester United are indeed trying to massage the situation, so that the fanbase would be okay with Greenwood making a return. Where I would disagree is that the CPS have dropped the case, which makes Greenwood innocent, at least in the eyes of the law. I disagree that Manchester United has created the toxic environment. The delay has not helped, but I would say that it is United fans that have created the toxic environment. It is their inability to accept the CPS decision, then putting, at times, libelous comments on social media that is filling the void. Humans are going to human. People love to gossip. As an aside, this is why I laugh when I hear Tim Pool say we are not a drama channel. Every channel is a drama channel. News is just drama for people who take themselves too seriously. He questions the delay being related to a consultation with the Manchester United women's team. And I would agree this is strange because I would have thought this would have been done after the case was dropped and before the start of the Women's World Cup. Why do I say Sam's take is poor? The reasons I would give are these. He takes the classical feminist position of believe all women. Women are now getting the finger pointed back at them. I don't see this. I think this is a ridiculous argument that United are trying to blame women for this. Nearly every point, he uses the words I feel. Classical feminists appeal to feelings rather than discussion of the facts and what a justifiable response should be. He goes on to talk about a statement by female fans against Greenwood's return, and seems to be citing this group as a representation of all female Manchester United fans. This is like saying that unions represent all workers. No, they only represent those that are members. This group seemingly only has a Twitter presence with 2,800 followers. How big is the female United fanbase? Do you really need to consult the women's team? This would be my question as well. Why do they need to have a consultation with women to consider the future of an innocent man? His opinion is Mason Greenwood should never kick a ball for Manchester United Football Club ever again. Why when he is innocent? The response to people saying innocent until proven guilty is I heard what I heard, you heard what you heard. This is a classic appeal to the mob. And who does this most often? Women, as though it is an argument. Do you know who else heard what they heard? The CPS. They also got to interview the victim and the offender, along with access to more evidence, as well as having the legal experience to prosecute the case. This is a non-argument appeal to feelings. I think he realizes this argument is terrible, so moves on to trying to justify it with a report saying that 1% of reported rapes in England leading to a conviction, followed by turning it on its head and saying is that because 99% of those victims lied, or is it because it is extremely difficult in a court of law to prove a sexual abuse case beyond reasonable doubt? How to say I think we should prosecute more men without evidence, without actually saying that. I disagree. Legal cases are the scientific method applied. The hypothesis, did so and so commit an offense. Testing phase, scrutinize the evidence. Conclusion, accept or deny the hypothesis. This is where I think, generally, the inclusion of victims, or anyone else's, feelings should be nowhere near the legal process. The legal process should be about the facts of the case. The only time feelings should have any bearing is the beginning, to consider charges, and the end at sentencing, given any extenuating or aggravating circumstances, in order to challenge his supposition of trial by media, which Greenwood is subject to. In 2017, The Guardian newspaper said that, over a 5-year period, 109 women were prosecuted for false allegations. This was out of 3692 allegations that went to court. This is just below 3%. In a report by the Open University, they found that as high as 4% might be false. When I checked the CPS most recent statistics, interestingly, false allegations did not appear to be listed. This may be down to my poor research skills. Articles are linked in the description. Another interesting situation is that men cannot be subject to rape under UK law, except it seems by other men. If you are a woman forcing your attention on a man, this is not an issue, at least according to lawmakers. The laughable thing about this is that, if you look on feminist sites or mainstream media, without doubt, you find an article talking about how women are being failed by the court system. Modern audiences are constantly talking about representation. When a woman makes an allegation, false or not, they are at least seen by the legal system, whether or not they are believed. A lot of these articles seem to be believed. Asking questions to establish facts are akin to not being believed. What happens to a man when he reports such a crime? Do you think the system even sees that person as a victim? Do you think they are treated better than a woman? Or do you think he is ridiculed behind his back as not being a real man? This goes to a fundamental question about the nature of equality. Women say they want equality. Yet when it comes to the legal system, they want to be seen as a victim of male oppression. When they are expected to have their allegation and credibility scrutinized by being asked questions, this is victimization. When they are asked to recount that story in front of a jury, the legal system is failing women. In the UK, a woman can make an allegation and then ask for anonymity. Men can ask for it. But do you realistically believe that it would be granted, except in cases where the male is a child? This was a funny part when he performs his outrage and talks about a tweet in support of Greenwood as people like this coming out, feeling empowered enough to make mad shit like this. I can't get my head around it. First of all, people like this, if white people said this about black people, would that be acceptable? But it is okay to say it about a man. Misandry much. It is as though he is saying that people cannot take on a different perspective. This is followed with that is what I mean about the importance of responsibility. And a half-hearted appeal to oh well United have a responsibility to Greenwood. Yes, they do, and that responsibility is not to go against the CPS decision and brand an innocent man. Just because some fans are clutching their pearls. It is clear he has an agenda against Greenwood. And no matter what happens, we'll never be swayed from that view. That is fair enough. We are all entitled to hold whatever opinions we want, but do not then try and wrap up your opinion as objective fact when it is not. This is reflected in his refusal to allow dissent by switching off comments. He is right and no one will be allowed to contradict him. Before he goes on his rant, Sam started with let's look at the events. So let's do that. #believe all women happens. Allegations are made by Greenwood's partner of violence during the investigation. A video of him engaging in said violence, but is not specific in terms of context. Did she ask him to do that as part of a role play? Is it part of a fetish on her part? In all cases, it appears to have been released to hurt his credibility. During the investigation, Greenwood gets back with his partner and they have a child. CPS dropped the case. Greenwood is subject to an employer investigation and trial by media. It does not appear he has a morality clause, so any action taken by his employer to terminate his contract could be legally questionable. I am not a lawyer, so cannot say for sure. The next point he makes that does not stand up to scrutiny is this: if Mason Greenwood was your run-of-the-mill Manchester United Academy product, like a semi-talented midfielder, we would have already cut ties with him. He is making an argument that it is his talent that is keeping them from making what is an easy moral decision. This is not even remotely true. Case in point, Harry Maguire, one of the most expensive players in English football history, got himself in some legal trouble and was given a suspended sentence. Maguire has been nothing short of a disaster for Manchester United, yet has been kept on. If the easy moral decision is to cut ties with a criminal, then United should have already terminated his contract. My recollection of the incident was that this topic was not even approached and there was no moral panic by the United fanbase. The charges against Maguire were aggravated assault, resisting arrest, and attempted bribery. The comparison of both charges are for your own conscience, but there is one significant difference. Maguire was convicted. Greenwood was not. Here, I think, is the reason people have responded so much more viscerally. Greenwood's alleged victim was a woman. To me, this shows those who are so against Greenwood do not believe in equality. They do not care about Maguire's situation because his victim was a man. This shows them to either be misandrists or cynical virtue signalers. There are many more objectively justifiable arguments that can be made to terminate the contract, and for Mason Greenwood to never be allowed to play football for Manchester United again. One would be that Greenwood brought United into disrepute, and whilst he does not have a morality clause, he is still subject to the implied rules and moral guidance that covers any employer-employee relationship. This being the case, they could use loss of sponsorship or reduced fan interaction as a basis. However, I think they would be hard-pressed to find this, simply because I think the majority of the fanbase are happy for Greenwood to return. It would also mean they open the door to a civil suit from Greenwood given the situation regarding Harry Maguire. On the whole, my conclusion is this: Sam's position is not the strongest and not particularly well thought out. If he is basing it on moral grounds, then he should say that, but there is always the risk of litigation because of Greenwood being innocent. It is also a precarious situation, in terms of setting a precedent whereby people can be expelled from society because of gossip and allegations rather than any actual fact. Can the legal system make mistakes? Yes, but if we dismantle it and move to a trial by media system, Then we simply descend into a more violent and disorganized state. I am sure I heard such an argument somewhere.
I did what I did for the good of the realm.
The realm? Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agreed to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
But what do we have left once we abandon the lie? Chaos. A gaping pit waiting to swallow us all.
Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
Thanks to all of those who watched. If you could give an upvote if you thought what I said made sense. A downvote if you think this was a complete waste of time. Add any comments regarding any aspect of the topic or my presentation skills, preferably something constructive, either positive or negative.